All right, and we are live once again, shooting the shiz with DK and the Schwag, Kemper Killer himself, Brett Wagner. How are you doing tonight? We got ourselves a special guest. This is one I'm excited about because you know how I am with the special effects. This guy's a filmmaker, producer, director, the talented Joe Castro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on the show.
Let's not forget he's easy on the eyes as well. With
You're way
the
too
trim
kind.
beard, the glasses.
You are way too kind. That's
I am being kind. How you doing, man? Joe? John. I've heard about Joe for many years. Being that I love horror movies and have done pretty decently being in horror movies and stuff like that, science fiction stuff. So I have known about Joe Castro. Even worked on a movie with him, but I didn't know Joe. We were working on the Big Effin' Rat, I believe.
Oh, geez, you were on that set too, huh? That's right.
And I was on that set and didn't even realize it. But Joe's been around in this business, and we'll ask him how long. But I've heard the amazing stories about Joe Castro, and his work is second to none.
Thank you.
You can put it up against any of the big guys that make do special effects, especially make masks. Some of your masks, Joe, are just they're off the wall, and your creative process to make that stuff we'll get into is pretty amazing. But we're just excited to have you on.
Well, I didn't know that you knew Joe because some months back I reached out to Joe and Joe messaged me back. He's like, well, not trying to be rude, but who are you? And I started talking to him a little bit. No, but he meant it in a nice way. He's like, how'd you hear me? Whatever. And I'm like, well, I've seen some of your work and I'm looking at your stuff. I do this show with the big Schwag, Brett Wagner. And, I would love to have you on because your work's incredible. And then I was learning even more because you learn more and more about people. I'm still learning about Brett, like the big rat or whatever you guys were in. I mean, there's just always something new and researching you is incredible. And you're also working on sequels just premiered that I'm excited to talk about tonight. And also, you just got so much going on with your special effects. So 3 movies, you got to let us know what's going up with you and how you got started. A lot to talk about.
Fantastic. Yeah, whatever. Let's get into some juicy details.
Well, Joe, you grew up in Texas. I believe I'm correct on that. But how did you, were you enamored by scary stuff, horror movies? And if so, what were you watching?
That's a great question, Brett. Well, before I begin, I want to say thank you both for having me on the show. And I also want to make sure I get this in at the top of the show, that when I saw the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when I remembered leaving the theater and it being so like, there's no other way to describe this. I felt like I had been electrocuted for like 2 hours straight. And I was like trembling like this when I came out of the theater, and I just have this amazing memory from that movie. So, you got a fanboy here. Yeah. All right. Just want to say that, I loved the remake. I love that film.
Thank you, man. I was, blessed. I do the first killing in the movie, the Kemper kill, which is, it's crazy because I never, ever, and John and Joe, I never saw the trailer for that movie until maybe 9 months ago. And I'm watching the trailer. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was in the trailer. I mean, they end the trailer with me slamming that door shut. And I was like, boy, if I would have known that, I would have been milking this thing 20 years ago. But hey, you know what? I mean, we're just blessed to, and now that the strike's over, thank goodness, hopefully we get back to working full time. But thank you, Joe. But growing up in Texas, I know you were a young guy, but was it sci-fi? Was it horror? Or you just liked to do the makeup and create things?
So this is a beautiful segue into that question. That's the reason why I brought up the Texas Chainsaw Massacre first. Let's just put it this way. Growing up in South Texas in the 70s, 70s, early 80s, when people ask me what it was like, I tell them, have you ever seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Because that is my family. And I'm not kidding. I grew up on a goat ranch, 55 acres, and we had a slaughterhouse. And here, just real brief description of what's going on. I remember these Middle Eastern men would come and like sell oil in Texas. They were like millionaires, and they would stop by our property after they would complete a deal. to celebrate, like a multi-billion-dollar deal. And they would buy a goat. And this is like on my grandparents' front porch. They would slice its throat open, a baby goat, and they would hold it upside down and let the blood run from its throat into like a goblet, and they would all drink from it right there. I saw it, witnessed it many times. And that is like the lighter side of the things I grew up seeing. So when I'm saying I grew up with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. My uncles on my father's side of the family were all artists, and they would, hunt and kill animals, trap animals, buy and sell and trade exotic animals illegally. We had a tiger on our property at one point. I saw a fallow deer, a ram. It's like a hybrid goat deer. I saw it get rammed in the head with an axis deer that they were raising as a baby. But as soon as it goes through puberty, it becomes like this wild animal. And they fought this other deer, and it smacked its head and cracked its head skull open. And my family's like trying to like pour water on this deer's head with like the skull cracked open, like it's gonna help it. I grew up with this like crazy family. And when I left Texas to come to Hollywood to make movies, I was just done with all that. I'd seen it all. And so to get to your question about growing up with horror, yes, it was horrific. I saw and lived and participated in activities that no child should ever participate in.
Wow.
So making blood look realistic and doing all the SFX.
Oh, yeah, no.
Man,
yeah.
I've seen this all my life. This is easy.
Yeah, like one of my favorite things about doing blood work is the idea that blood is not one color red.
Yeah.
Like because I've seen blood come out of an animal's body, and the longer it's out in the air, the different color it changes, and the way that it like is on the pavement and on skin and clothes and staining. I've seen it all, And one time it was Easter Sunday, and all my family, about 40 people, were sitting around this fire out. This is like in the middle of the day because they were getting ready to barbecue on a Sunday afternoon, Easter Sunday. And one of my uncles brought out the family calf, brought it out in front of the whole family. And my uncle took a gun and put it right to its temple and shot it in front of everybody. Animal falls over. So they grab a knife and they start to gut it and skin it, to cut it up to eat it, and the animal stands back up. It wasn't dead yet. Wow. He had already taken the gun back inside, so he had to run back inside and get the gun and come out and shoot it again.
What the hell are you guys doing? I ain't dead yet.
These are and I'm not making this stuff up.
It must have been interesting when friends would come over the house. The first time.
Here's a good one. One time, so my grandparents lived on one side of a country highway, and my mother was a single child, and my father and his family of 10 siblings lived on the opposite side of the freeway, right across the street from each other. Bandera Road, which goes from San Antonio, Texas, all the way to Bandera, Texas. These are the two major cities. And this was like in the 1970s. There was nothing there. And so basically, my grandparents on my father's side are the ones that had the slaughterhouse. On my mother's side, the ones that had the slaughterhouse. One day, a friend of mine, his name is Rudy Bali, who helped me write the Terror Toons franchise, was coming over. He's one of my best friends from high school, and he came over and I said, "You want to go eat at my grandparents' house?" And he said, "Sure." So we went over there to eat, and we walked in the front door, and my grandfather was sitting at the table, and my grandmother was sitting at the table, and they each literally had a skinned goat head on each plate. And my grandfather had like a screwdriver and a hammer and was getting ready to get into that head. And my grandfather looks at my friend Rudy. He goes, "Y'all want to eat?" And I looked at my friend Rudy. My friend Rudy was like, "No, I'm out of here. I am out of here."
I might have ran myself, to be honest with you. But you started. I think your family helped. I mean, they liked that you loved the film, because I think you did something at 15 years old and got into started doing stuff at 15. Correct?
Well, see, when I was 7 years old, my dad introduced me to Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, because my dad was really cool. He was an amazing man, and he really took an interest in me as a child. And one day, my mother and my older brother were off for the weekend, and my father was babysitting me, and he said, "Son, sit down and watch this. I know you're going to like it." And sure enough, it was Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. It was a It was 1977. It was a Saturday afternoon, and it was a afternoon creature feature, And I, when the movie was over and the credits were rolling, I'm like, Dad, how do they do that? And he says, son, look. And we looked at the credits, and he pointed at the screen. He said, see there, it says special effects. That's how they do it. They do it with special effects. And I said, that's what I want to do when I grow up, Dad. And so, from that point on, it's just been one adventure after another to get to this, wherever it is, whatever I'm doing right now. I'm living the life as a special effects artist. But my family was supportive to a certain extent. They didn't really see how making scary things was going to translate into a career or money. I think my dad's sole intention was he wanted me to be a happy kid. He wanted me to be happy because, growing up in South Texas in the 70s, I'm an openly gay man today. And I was also an openly gay young man back in high school and middle school. I was, my family was like a gang of bullies living out in the sticks in South Texas. We had a gun at every door under our beds. We were hunters, killers. And my brother taught me how to fight and by fifth grade, I knew how to throw a punch. And when people bullied me, my brother was the school bully, and he was 3 years older than me. So by the time I was there, I was literally a gay bully in high school, And I was also part of the star water polo team. We were the state champions in my senior year. So you're the whole. They didn't see how I was going to translate. They taught me what they wanted me to know, because their intention was Joe's going to be here on the property. He's probably never going to get married. He's not going to have kids, right? Not going to get married. He's not going to have kids. We need to teach him how to, maintain the property and this and that and all. So when I ran off to Hollywood, it was like, when they bought me the camera, and then I ran off to Hollywood, video camera, and ran off to Hollywood, it was kind of like, it was just they didn't know. They didn't know how to nurture or cultivate that,
Different worlds. Really.
Yeah, totally different world. And they're still there doing exactly the same thing they've done. They smoke meat, they hunt. One of my uncles, I walked into his house recently, and it was like, I kid you not, it's just like an updated version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre kitchen. He's got like a countertop, and it's glass, and when you look into it, there's like all these animal bones and like knives that he's made with carved animal bones as handles, and rattlesnake skins, and he even mounted like a squirrel that he shot out in the front yard on the wall, like it's hanging on the wall looking. I mean, there's dead animals everywhere. But both of my two of my uncles were taxidermists by trade. That's how they made a living as a taxidermist. So you got like dead animal skin soaking in formaldehyde and the whole bit. It's just, yeah.
The apocalypse if it comes, we know where we're going, Brad. We're going to Joe's. We're going to his family's. I feel safe going there.
Oh yeah, no.
As deadly as it sounds safe.
You let's put it this way: if someone came to rob us or harm us, we would see them coming 50 yards before they got to the front door. And there's a 50-yard, at least a 50-yard walkway between the main road and each of the houses.
They got sniper towers.
Yeah, we'll shoot you, and then we'll say, oh, we didn't know who they were, or
you wouldn't even say that. Yeah. You would probably just cut them up and bury them, or I mean, it's just like
there's a hole on our property. Okay, it's funny that you bring that up. There's this giant hole on our property. We have 55 acres. That's a lot of property, and there's a hole that you can't see the bottom of it. And I swear to God, someone's been thrown down there. No one ever really talked about it growing up. And it's like that's called
Castro's.
That's where they put the bodies down that hole right there. Yeah.
Well, at least the animals. So was it were you nervous to make the move out to LA, or were you excited? I'm going to go out to LA and whatever happens.
Well, you grew up same time I grew up, right? You remember when we used to have like pen pals, and we used to actually write letters to people?
Oh, sure.
Write a letter back to you. So I had a friend it was in Florida, who was a special effects artist, and he's like, "Hey Joe, come out to LA and make movies. I have this project, and they're gonna hire us, and I've got to put together a team of people." And as soon as I heard that, was like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I went from high school to working, making a haunted house for the Muscular Dystrophy Association in Texas. And then I worked in the largest gay bar in Texas, which is a 4-story bar in downtown San Antonio as a bar back. And then when Jerry, my friend Jerry, told me, come on out here to make special effects, I'm like, let's go. You know, it wasn't even a second thought. I think I was out here within 3 weeks. Of course, when we showed up at the door of the person who was going to hire me, I'm like, we're here, ready to work. He's like, oh, the movie fell through. There's no work.
Man,
you know exactly how that goes.
Getting there wasn't a problem. You were excited. You're like, oh,
yeah,
tell me I'm there. And then you get there, and that's when the problem started, huh?
So
did you learn special effects just by doing it and working on movies, or did anybody ever throw you some tips, or you just learned by the process of making movies?
Yeah, when I was like literally when I was like 10 years old, my mother was a high school Spanish and government economics teacher, and so one of my mother's biggest gifts was that she knew how to teach. And so what she did was she taught me how to teach myself, which is, if you think about it, how valuable that is, right? So when I was 10 years old, she bought me a college level art book about paper mache because I knew how to make paper mache, and I went through that entire book and I made like these amazing projects with it. And then by the time I was 12 years old, I was introduced to a friend of mine a relative, a distant relative. He was a third cousin, and his name was Eddie Perez, and he was a total horror junkie. This is 1982. And in 1982, we had Beta and VHS, right? Yeah. And he had this gigantic pirated collection of VHS of every horror movie ever made. And so, you know, by the time I was like 14 years old, I had borrowed all of them. I had like literally crammed every, you know, obscene, unrated Italian slasher splatter movie in my system. And he bought me a book that taught me how to make a rubber mask for my birthday. It was Cinemagic. It wasn't a book. It was a magazine. It's called Cinemagic #6. You can ask any special effects artist from that time period. They know exactly what I'm talking about. And you can Google it. If you Google Cinemagic #6, it'll come up. And it basically is 16 pages, a step-by-step instruction of how to take a life cast of somebody, how to pour it up in plaster, how to put clay on it, how to make a mold of it, and how to pour up your first rubber mask. So by the time I was like 12, 13 years old, I'd already made my first rubber mask. And so, you know, and we had pen pals. We had special effects pen pals. You know, we all read Fangoria. Do you remember? I don't know if you ever subscribed to Fangoria, but Fangoria used to do this thing where if you have a subscription, you could put 3 sentences in the back of the magazine. Do you remember that?
I do.
With your subscription, right? So I would put, hi, my name is Joey Castro, because I was Joey back then. This is my phone number. This is my address. Are there any other special effects artists out there? Please write me. And this is how we got in touch. We didn't have the internet. That's how we did it. And I had pen pals all over the world, really. But I had one from New York. I had one from Mississippi, and I had one from Florida. And and then I communicated with all the special effects people out in LA that had like little businesses. I remember there's one guy that sold foam latex, and I would call him on the phone and ask him for tips. I used to call Tom Savani on the phone. When I was 12 years old, I could pick up the phone and call Tom Savani because his phone number was listed in the phone book in the white pages in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh.
This guy's calling me again, huh?
Yeah, and he would pick up the phone and he would talk to me for hours. Oh, we would talk forever about stuff, and that's how pleasant and and cordial Tom was. He was so nice to me. Of course, I was 12, 13, 14 years old. I didn't sound like I sound now. I'm like, hi Tom, I'm Joey Castro. Can you help me? Can you talk to me? Yeah, he was so polite. He was so nice.
It's not like it is now where I'm sure like for somebody like you, and he knew somebody was really interested in what he's doing and being a young person, and being able to offer that guidance where, it wasn't the big schools back then. It was, you had to learn, like you said, on your own. It wasn't what it is right now, where there's always places to learn. There's not the internet.
Right.
And that leads me to my other question is growing up on the farm, the slaughterhouse, the whole deal. How much did you use that in your art projects? I mean, imagine, did you use a lot of the tools you had around you to create a lot of different things? I imagine you would. I would.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about like how I use, I mean,
teeth, bones, hair, you name it.
Yeah, any animal that we had that was skinned or butchered, whatever was left of it, if it wasn't used to make like Have you ever seen a rifle, a deer, a gun, a rifle rack made out of the hooves of the deer that's been killed by the rifle?
I can't say I've seen that, but I can imagine it.
Yeah, see. You know, the deers, the legs front, the legs go like this in the front, right? So my uncles would take them and they would mount them. They would have them dried and mounted this direction, and then they would mount it on a board. So they would put the rifle literally on the hooves of the deers they killed. You know, they had this rack. So it was everywhere. It was all over the place. I can't even, like, if I wanted to go get some bones, I just have to walk to we had a big dump on the property, and we would take all the animal carcasses that were done and we just dump it there. And they were bleached and sun dried. You could get goat skulls and cow skulls and you name it. It was all over the place. I don't use any of that stuff today, though, in any of my work. But what I do use is the pure realism of what death is when I do my work. You know, like I always go back to that. Like, I try to find it in nature. I don't try to imagine any of it, like, because Mother Nature is the best artist of all. So I always go and trying to find something in the real world, that mimics something that I think would be absolutely realistic, and try. If I can get like a small percentage of that in my work, I know I'm doing great.
Well, the realism that you bring to your piece is just like the Dave Sheridan severed head I used as part of this picture that we can see to our right or to your left, whatever you want to call it. But it's amazing. Just the details, the hair, just the small little things, you know, it's amazing what guys like you can do, that if you didn't know better, you'd think that was a real head. And yeah, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Your work is second to none. And like I said, once I saw your work, I was like, man, this guy is awesome. And I talked to Brett about you, like I told you, and he's like, yeah, I know Joe. He is amazing, and let's get him on the show. And here we are. And just the work you've done. What is some of the favorite pieces you've done or like to work on? Like, that severed head had to be a lot of fun to work on.
That was an interesting one. You know, I have to say one of my most interesting moments was Brett. You ever meet Herschel Gordon Lewis?
Sure.
Yeah. I had no idea how much Herschel really influenced everything that we've done. You know, Herschel made this movie. Are you familiar with Herschel Gordon Lewis, John?
Somewhat, yes. So if you name the movie, I'd probably more know. So
Joe Bob Briggs describes the very first slasher movie ever made as Blood Feast. It was made in 1963. It was a color film. It wasn't the black and white. Psycho came the year before, but Psycho isn't a slasher movie. No. It's more considered a thriller or you're right, a dramatic thriller. And then he describes it as a deranged person stalking innocent victims one by one, killing each one on screen in a horrific bloody death. And then at the climax of the film, the killer dies by the hands of the hero or heroine of the movie in an even more horrific on-screen death. Where have we heard that formula from? That's the formula of every slasher movie.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
And Herschel made that formula in his very first movie, Blood Feast, back in 1963.
So he's really the OG.
He's the godfather of gore. I've heard people call Tom Savini the godfather of gore, but I think the more appropriate title is the king of splatter.
Yeah,
but
unsung hero.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm going to research him even more.
Yeah, but I made I got a chance to do the special effects to the sequel to Blood Feast 2 when I met Herschel. This was in 2001, and Herschel kind of took me under his wing, and he showed me how to make my gore gorier, and he's such a sweet, kind, professional man. And, my father had already passed away. My father passed away in a horrific car accident in 1997. So when I met Herschel in 2001, it was basically everything I still long to learn from having a father figure in my life. I did from Herschel, and Herschel really, instilled in me some qualities that have helped me to be the man I've always wanted to be. And so every time I talk about Herschel, I have to point out that he's one of the reasons why we're having this podcast today, right? And sure. But I made a special effect where this the killer takes a turkey carver and he slits the back of the girl's throat from behind, and then he reaches in her skin here and peels her head like an orange. And she's still alive, and her eyes are moving around, and she screams. Ah! and that's probably one of my
That
favorites.
sounds cool as hell, though. I got to check that out.
How did you transition into directing? And then I'll ask you the follow-up question to that will be: do you like directing more, or do you like doing the special effects?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, when I was 12 years old, my father, that was a goat farmer and a sales rep. He sold drafting equipment on the telephone. Back then we didn't have the internet, and so everything had to be, the sales was all done online. Someone call you up and say, "Hey, you want to buy this?" And you call companies. So my father was a goat farmer and a sales rep, and my mother was a school teacher. Put their money together and they bought me a $2,200 camera in 1982, which was a lot of money. And they said, "Here's your college education." And so I used the camera to film my special effects. So I was kind of like directing and making masks at the same time, learning. But to answer your question, I always wanted to direct, and it's much harder to direct than it is to do special effects. I think I only because I don't know. I don't know why. I think because you have to be responsible for more people. But as a special effects artist, I like the idea that I have the ability to do something that most people don't know how to do. And so when I do my magic, it's like, how do you do that? And that's a big thrill.
Well,
I was going to say,
ahead,
as an SFX, artist, I find the transition to them being directors in horror just is the best transition. Look at like Damon Leone with Terrifier. We know quite a few people that are doing filmmaking, and to have that skill visually, having the SFX skill, I think just makes a movie so much better. It can open up that gore. It can open up those ideas. You don't have a director say, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
The director said, I'm doing it. I'm the director. We're doing it. So that's got to be a cool part about being a director, because it opens up the SFX window in a movie, because nobody's telling you no except for you, and that ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and I get that. I've become so detailed with my special effects work. We just did this movie called Terror Toons 4, and it took us 10 years to make the film. We shot a portion of it in 2012, and then we shot another portion of it in 2014, and then we shot the last portion of it right at the beginning of the pandemic, and then it took us a year to finally it took us like 6 years to put it together. Really, it's a huge undertaking. But I co-directed a portion of it with somebody, and to be honest with you, directing and doing detailed special effects work is a lot of work. I'd rather focus on just one or the other when I'm doing it.
I can understand that. I got the Terror Toons 4 trailer up if you want me to play it for you.
Sure, go right ahead. Yeah, let's see it.
All right, let me put it on the full screen here. Oh.
Hey, look at me. What are you up to?
This is not cartoons. It's Terror Toons. This is where it all began.
Hey.
So silly watching
that. That was great.
This season, Vistaprint has every.
We shot the very first Terror Toons back in 2001, and we made the movie for $2,300, and we shot it in 3 days. And when it came out in 2002, it sat right on the shelf at Blockbuster next to Pirates of the Caribbean, and we moved 50,000 units in the first 2 weeks.
It's popular as hell. Listen, man. So before I even knew who you were, I knew Terror Toons, right? I got a couple of friends in Pittsburgh, right? And in Pennsylvania, they're like, Terror Toons 4 is coming out. Terror Toons 4 is coming out. And then I see, our mutual friend, Mike Ferguson's in it. And I mean, this thing, it's the gift that keeps giving, or the gift that keeps killing.
That's a good way to put it. I never intended to make a sequel to the first one, and when we made the second one, an investor saw the numbers from the first film and came to me and said, "Joe, I want to pay for part 2." And then we made like part 2 for like $13,000, which was a lot more than the first one, and it did really well. And then my husband was like, okay, we're going to pay for the third one ourselves. We don't have to, we don't want anybody else involved. And then it took us almost 10 years to make the third one. So we shot the first one in 3 days for $2,300. And we shot the second one in 7 days for $13,000. Then it took us 10 years to do the third one. And then it almost took us 10 years to do the fourth one as well. But you know, it's a labor of love, and the fans are vivacious. Their appetite for the insanity of Terror Tunes is just bonker. You know what I mean? Like, I have to come up with something completely outrageous in order to satisfy their Terror Tunes appetite. Of course, I think it's a part of it's me too.
And just look, I haven't had a chance to watch them. I was looking for them. I couldn't get a Blu-ray in because I heard Terror Tunes. You ever seen it? No.
Send me your emails and I'll send you a screener link so y'all can take a look at it.
Yeah, because it looks like a lot of fun. Like those trailers, it just looks so great. And that's another thing where budget again, and having that SFX skill and directing. Even if you don't like directing as much, you'd rather just have one job. Being able to do a film and having the skills that you have allow that to happen on such a small budget. If you didn't have those skills, no way it was going to happen. No way.
My husband Steven is an Emmy award-winning editor, so he edits like Big Brother and The Amazing Race, and he did The Apprentice and these things like this. So he can take like my crazy ideas and he can edit them and make them like appear very mainstream. That's what he does.
He could take the bizarre and just make it make sense for everybody else. That's
exactly.
great. That's awesome.
And that's because he understands the madness. He understands your madness.
He's a magician. He really is. He can take someone's performance that's. Sometimes I remember one time we did this movie and one of the actors in it didn't know any of his lines, and we fed the one line at a time to the person. Just fed the line, next one, and he came home and edited it, and it's like the best scene in the entire film. And this guy had never acted a day in his life, and that's editing, you know. And my husband is amazing for that. So he takes all my craziness and makes it look amazing. Yeah.
Well, he does a great job. Now, John, I don't know if you know this, but Joe Castro is in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Oh. I did not know that.
Yes. And Joe, you're going to have to explain this because, I mean, I could say it, but I'll let you tell the story because this is pretty amazing, especially in the world we live in where the kill scenes, the amount of kills in movies, there's people that count the amount of kills that are in movies. And if you don't have a certain amount, well, then your movie's kind of lacking. But you're in the Guinness Book of World Records for this.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, Brett. So my husband and I have the Guinness Book of World Record for the highest body count in a slasher movie. And it's for a movie that we produced back in 2012 titled The Summer of Massacre. And it has 155 on-screen kills. The movie's 98 minutes long, so you do the math. There's
dialogue? We don't need dialogue. We just need blood.
The first 25 minutes of the movie, it's just kill. This is like, if you don't like seeing gore or you don't like seeing, it's not really gore, kills. Like, you want to see people die, you know, and I mean, it is gory, but it's also done in a very stylized way. I was going to I was learning VFX at the time, so I was learning VFX at a place called Video Symphony in Burbank, California. So, and that helped me put this together. So it's not just blood and gore, like sick like that. It has a very finessed, beautiful, kind of a graphic novel kind of look to the film. And if I was going to do a slasher movie that had that much blood, I wanted it to look at least cinematic, right? Cinematic. With the kills. And yeah, no, it was no one had the whole script. I never gave anybody the whole script while we were making it, because we were setting out to set this record, and I didn't want anybody to know about it. I wanted it to be a big surprise. And it's also an anthology film. There's 7 killers in the film, and so no one knew what we were doing. And then when we had the premiere, we announced it, and I think it was just like a couple of months after that we actually got the record, and it was solidified.
I love anthologies.
Yeah,
I do. That's some of my favorite horror. Just getting 3 stories, getting right to it. That's where I loved, Creep Show and
all
that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I want to check that out, especially with all those kills. You're gonna do a sequel to top it?
Well, here's what I want to add, and I'm gonna invite everybody to come along. So we're getting ready to do a brand new new digital pass on it because I did this movie almost 10 years ago or over 10 years ago. So I'm going to go back and do a George Lucas on it, and I'm going to do a whole new beautiful pass on it and update it, and I'm going to add a whole new body count to it and make it even like way more. And I'm going to invite all my friends to be in the film so we can all be in the Guinness Book of World Record together.
That'd be awesome. That's pretty cool.
And I'm talking about you, Brett. Yeah, I'm gonna bring you. Yeah, absolutely like that. Huh? Yeah, I want to bring everybody along on the ride. I want to bring all my Facebook friends in. I'm like, I want to add at least another 100 kills to the
blood NATO. You know,
yeah.
Let the blood fly.
Yeah.
A lot of your work, Joe, working for other folks making the masks. I mean, some of them are just incredible. I mean, besides growing up on the homestead and getting some inspiration and seeing stuff like that, where do you get your inspiration for? Because some of your work is just, it's beyond incredible.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. You know, I think I mentioned earlier, Mother Nature. I study a lot of stuff. I Google a lot of stuff. I will go and I will find something in the real world that is as close to what I'm trying to make as possible. And then I try to pull something from that when I do my work. And if I can take just like 10% of Mother Nature with me, I'm doing really good. And I think a lot of mistakes that people make is that if you're trying to make a realistic special effect, the human mind is so limited, and the world is so vast. Go out there in the world and actually, do your best to study and learn and remain teachable. And I'm constantly taking classes and speaking with other special effects artists. During the pandemic, I had the honor and privilege of sitting in with Brian Wade. Is just a world famous special effects artist, sculptor, and I was able to sit with him for 16 hours while we worked on a piece together, and I got to watch him sculpt, and then I would sculpt on the same piece, and it's probably one of the most life-changing events of my entire life, working with Brian. I also did the same thing with Rob Berman, Rob Berman over at the Sticks and Stone studio. And, that man has, I don't know, his father and his team of people, they worked on remember Prophecy about the mutant bear. He worked on
Armand Asante. Who you kidding? Come on. John Frankenheimer.
Yeah. And then, so I asked him, do y'all have the one of the puppet babies? He's like, no, those molds are long gone. But Rob Berman, I go over there and learn. That man has so much knowledge that even I went over there to take a class to do this one thing. And he taught me so many other things just by watching him, just watching him walk around and do stuff. And he's just this amazing teacher. And so I constantly put myself in the mix, and I pretend like I'm like a kid. Sometimes I'll go on set and there'll be like a 25-year-old makeup artist there, and she'll do something that blows my mind. And I'll be like, how do you do that? And they'll show me, and I'll be like, wow, just remain teachable, Yeah.
So still learning all the time. Before we had a little picture of Aaron Groban, a friend of mine. I did a Netflix TV series with called El Rey. And I met Aaron, and Aaron is one of those guys that's working 4 or 5 times a week as an actor. Amazing work. And then he got to work with you and have that jaw. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, Aaron's is a real pleasure to work with. He understands the assignment and just goes right to it. And it's a real honor to be able to craft a special effects makeup on him. Yeah, I did this giant demon mouth, and also the director Eric Mathis for that. I like working with directors that understand my toolbox, and they say, Joe, this is what I need, and I do my best to try to go into the mind of the director and extract what's in his mind or her mind. And I love working with female directors, by the way, because they always have such a new, fresh take on things that we've seen a million times. And so, I just like it when I get a chance to just go wild and do my thing. Sometimes I tell directors, if I give you what you asked for, you might be disappointed in what you might have missed, So you better,
Wow, that's a good term. Now, and also, John, where I met Joe was I was in a music video with my buddy Joe Gonzalez, Dirty Joe, we call him. He's comes on our page a lot and comes in our chat room and watches. Did a movie called Desert Fiends with Joe. But he's telling me, he's like, oh man, he's doing a music video. I got this big guy, Joe Castro, coming. And I'm like, oh wow, Joe Castro's coming. This is great. So, and that video has won all these dang awards, man. I mean, Joe, we're winning awards with this music video.
We lost him somehow. He's coming back.
He's coming back.
We're coming back, but a lot of that's to your credit because the special effects and the stuff that you did for Joe and everybody else on the set was crazy good.
Yeah, well, here's another shout out to Joe. Joe is one of these directors, producers that knows how to delegate authority. He knew exactly where to put you. He knew exactly how to shoot you. He knew exactly when to say something to his DP. He knew exactly how to delegate authority to me, and that's what makes a great production. It really does. And when you are surrounded by people that understand and respect your position,
I agree 100%.
It really is. Like, I mean, I'm going through your thing, and I want your website that you shared with me, and you guys can check this out. I put it in the links, I believe, when I made the rooms, but just the work is. I could sit and look at it all day. One of my good friends who did the 3-eyed demon sculpt for me, Josh Lucas, is here. So I'm sure he's blown away by you as a guest too. Yeah, he's fantastic. I can only imagine what he's thinking right now with some of your work. But let me pull up this screen so we can take a look at some of it because it really is beautiful. Oh, not this screen. There we go.
That was I was only on it. I was working with a team of people, and we were working on Wishmaster 3 and 4 there, and we had to do these baby Jin. They call them the baby Jin suits, and so we fabricated different pieces, and then I put them together. I was responsible for attaching them and adhering them to the suits there. I sculpted that chest piece I'm holding on to. Of course, everybody, there was probably 5 people involved in that. So 2 different people did the masks. I sculpted the Jin horns that were used on the main Jin and all the suits here. And I sculpted that one of the chest pieces, and got a couple of other people that came into the other rib cage pieces, and the cod piece, and the horns on the shoulders. All that stuff was separate, but yeah, that happened so fast. I don't even think that we spent a week on that. There were probably like 5 or 7 people working on that. Yeah,
it's awesome. I'm glad you document that stuff. The werewolf right there.
That's for The Beast Comes at Midnight, which is out right now on Amazon Prime, and it's like a kid's film. It's like it's supposed to be. It's a coming of age story about this this little like freshman high school nerd who falls in love with this girl, and they have a podcast where they talk about cryptozoology, and they're trying to solve these murders that are happening in their hometown of Gibtown, Florida. And it's a werewolf, and I get to play the man that turns into the werewolf, the beast, the man before the beast, and then I got to jump into my
SFX and starring
Joe
Castro. I'll put it, if it's a good family one, I'll put it on for my individuals.
It's a great movie. It's actually a really good movie.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, I mean, like 5-year-old to all the way to like an adult, because it's such a beautiful coming of age story. You got this, this kind of nerdy young guy and this cute young girl, and they fall in love over a podcast, and they got a gang of friends, tracking down this wolf man.
A little bit of a modern day Monster Squad.
It's exactly what it is. It's a modern day Monster Squad.
So perfect. Yeah,
it's super sweet.
I'm going to watch it this week.
I'm super proud of that film, and not one drop of blood in the whole movie.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I'm not watching the movie.
but I'm in it, and I get to play the guy turning into the werewolf, and I get real scary, and I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure I was pretty scary. That's why they kept me to a minimum. I'm pretty creepy in the film. So, but it was a real honor to do that. Good group of people.
I'll give it a watch this week, and I'll let you know what I think. I'm sure the guys that I take care of will love it.
Yeah,
because we love horror and scary, especially the ones with the family twist, like Monster Squad. Like we said, this is badass.
That kind of looks like Mike Ferguson in real life.
That is from a new movie coming out called The Old Ones, and it's directed by Chad Farron. And it's this, if you like From Beyond, and you like the, what do you call it, In the Mouth of Madness, and you like H.P. Lovecraft movies, you will love this film. You'll love this film. It's an H.P. Lovecraft adaptation directly from the books of H.P. Lovecraft, and it's about a man who literally travels through time and space to another time on Earth, and he is found by this father and son, and these creatures from his past are come through time and space and chasing him down, trying to murder him, and he's trying to get back to like 1909 to stop the events from happening so he doesn't go forward in time.
It's such a wild look.
Yeah. So that's half man, half fish. Yeah. Half
is this
man.
something?
That's what I was gonna say. It looks like did he swim through time, or did he?
Well, this is one of the creatures. The creatures live in these they're like human sea creature hybrid. If you ever have some time, do a Google search of H.P. Lovecraft, creatures and characters, and you'll see all these like amphibious humanoid looking characters. And
I love it. I love it, man. It definitely has the effect you were going for sure. So I'm sure H.P. Lovecraft would be honored if he was able to see it now. I mean, that's beautiful.
This looks like some folks down at Venice Pier right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it rained every day on set when we made that film, and we were literally in pouring rain. That guy's sweaty, covered in mud. We're literally in this like bamboo forest with all this mud around there, and it was a perfect setting. The whole film, we shot it through all that rainy season we had last year, and we shot this film through that.
And Lovecraft is awesome. I agree. Let's see. Let's look at some more of your work. We could do this for a long time. I love the mouth stuff you do, the wild mouths. That's a pretty sick piece right there.
This right here mask is made for a film called Endzone II, and Endzone II is supposedly like this lost movie from the 1970s, and it's like a fictional lost tape movie, and it's actually a cool little film. It's making the circuit round right now.
So kind of found footage?
Not really found footage. No, it's like a movie that was shot in the 1970s, and they never finished the film. Then they lost the film, and then someone found it and put all the pieces together, and this is all that's left of it. And it's like the first hour of the film, and then it just ends right at 60 minutes.
So more of a lost footage film.
It was just a lost movie that was never completed. And it's called Endzone II. And this character here is the killer. And he's a kid that was on the football team that was hazed, and he got his jaw broken and beat up. And he comes back, and all he can do, so when he murders people, the only way he eats them, he's part cannibal, he has to drink them. He has to blend them up and drink because he can't chew.
Oh, well, with the jaw like that, it's broken like that. You can't blame the man. The poor man's trying to eat, and he's got to kill people and drink them through a straw. Just not right. Let's see what we got down. You got so much stuff. We're just on the creatures. I mean, you got all these different. Wow, that's gnarly right there.
That's another H.P. Lovecraft creature, kind of a sea aquatic kind of. They do things with multiple eyes and kind of wet, kind of aquatic-y looking thing. That was just a background mask for the old ones. Yeah.
Oh, for a background mask, it's pretty.
It makes for God's sakes,
kind of curl. That's what I like.
It's actually made out of yarn.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's made out of yarn. I think I had like 3 hours to put it together, and I'm not kidding. Yeah, I had to make like 6 masks in one day for background masks, and I was trying all these different techniques, and that's one of them. Yeah. Not
many people know this, John, but Joe Castro and making sweaters is another part of his deal. He does on the side. So a little yarn, a little crochet.
Yeah, that's yarn all over.
He does sweater. He's so good. He does sweaters with one hand and then does his background masks with the other. He's just a talented guy. But that's for a quick mask. I dig that, man. That's really cool. Oh, here we go.
This film is out right now. It's actually coming out the end of this month. It's called Pig Killer, and this is what I tell people: this movie will literally make you feel ill, and not because of the blood, but just because of the subject content in which the blood is used. I've never seen a more depraved film. Last film I saw that was this depraved was like, have you ever seen that movie Irreversible? That French film? Yeah, how depraved it made you feel when you watched it. That's how this film makes you feel.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I saw it on your page. I saw it's got some good actors in it as well. So that's going to be exciting.
No. This is like an 800-pound pig that they had me make because they have the pig running around in like a trailer, like a trailer house, and gets up into the cab of a truck, and it's walking around, different places where you can't have an 800-pound pig. We have a real pig in the film, but I had to make a puppet one to do with some other stuff. Yeah.
The realism you bring, man, is just next level. I mean, it's just next level. Wow.
Another one for the old ones. That's a sea creature. That's a Dagon from the opening scene in the old ones. Yeah. This is from a new movie called Saint Drogo, and it's making the festival rounds right now, but it was just in Fangoria as well. And,
well, speaking of making rounds, and I don't want to cut you off, but there's a sequel that people have been waiting for. So I'm going to bring us up on the big screen because I don't want to miss talking about this since we're 50 minutes into it. We try to go an hour. There's a sequel that you just premiered that I'd love to hear a little bit more about. And I love the original, one of my favorite covers in the 80s when I'd go to the video store, a little movie called The Mutilator.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Mutilator. Yeah. I was a fan as well growing up. They just made the sequel, and one of the special effects artists from the first film actually recommended me to do the special effects for the sequel. So that right there was a great honor. And we went and shot it in North Carolina, and Bud Cooper from the original film is directing as well. And I brought back some of the main actors from the first film, and I got a credit card and 3 months of pre-production to do the special effects. So I literally just worked on this one movie for 3 months in the studio here, and then we went and they flew me out to North Carolina, and I was on set for 17 days and shot the special effects there, and some of my best work ever. And I'm hoping that we get like an uncut, uncensored, just like no holes barred special effects deluxe version of the Mutilator 2. That would be great. I don't even care.
It's that bad. They left some stuff out that you'd love to see in the film.
Yeah, I don't even care if it doesn't make sense. I just want them to cut like all the gore in there. Who cares if it doesn't really match up? Let's just see everything they shot.
That just says we need. What do we think about the gore? More
gore. Yeah. Mutilator 2. We'll see what happens. But I'm
excited to watch.
I think it's going to get a good response. It definitely has the 80s feel, and I'm super proud of my work in the movie, and I cannot wait to show everybody the things I've done.
The original Fall Break song in the intro too.
Yeah. There's we shot at the same location. The first film was shot.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Even in the same house, the same garage, the same everything. In the same area, the whole bit. Yeah,
such an underrated franchise. I can't believe it's taken all these years. 40 years?
Almost 40 years to make the sequel.
I mean, that one deserved one. It was, like I said, it was one of those ones. I don't care if you were a kid in the 80s, you went to the video store. That is one of the boxes that no matter what you did, you were renting that movie at some point and watching it. And it turned out to be one that the cover didn't deceive you.
Delivered, right?
Delivered.
Yeah.
So what's coming up, Joe? Strike's over now. 2020, we got the Christmas. I know you're going to be working. You're probably working right now, but what films you got coming up? What are you excited about? What can we look for to see some Joe Castro work?
Well, I'm working again right now with Chad Farron on a new movie, Unspeakable 2. And it's got a really good all-star cast in it. I've been working on it now for the past month and a half, 2 months. And that's shoots in December. But I have my partner Steven Escobar and we're getting ready to do we're going to do a film next year and we're just gonna do one of those bucket list films, like, we're getting up there in years, and I don't know how many more I got in me, but each one is super important. So we're getting ready to do one of these bucket list films, and it's going to have a big cast, and we're going to bring everybody on board that we know and know they can deliver. We want to deliver the goods. But it's super hush hush, and I'll try to keep everything real hush hush until it goes. I want it to be like a, putting out a fresh pie, or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? I want
you don't
it to
want to
fresh,
spoil the movie in the trailer.
Yeah, I just want it to be fresh, super fresh when it comes out. So, I got a lot of movies coming out. You can check out my IMDb page. We're acting right, and I'm just trying to take it easy and see what the new year brings. Now the strike is over, I think everybody's going to be working, and we're going to have a lot of work. Knock on wood. And I hope also that the lay of how we are appreciated and paid as artists will evolve, so that we are more respected and we get the money that we deserve, and the credit that we deserve, in the future. And yeah.
Amen to that, my friends. So it's very funny. So today, John and Joe, we see Robert Patrick, who's a personal friend of mine and my wife's, and John has met him as well. Robert Patrick was marching today. Lo and behold, strike's over. I sent Robert Patrick a text. I said, "Hey, Robert, man, you go out. You got to do that. You should have done this quicker." Because he goes out to march today, and all of us,
it was good luck.
The strike's over.
Yeah, and he said, good luck.
That's my power, buddy. That's what I do.
We have a very, this is a family out here, or this is a family period. We're a family. You and I are family. We're all family now. We're in the cult movie family. We're all together. Some we have brothers and sisters we don't get along with. We got brothers and sisters we get along with, but we're all one big family here. We're all on this one big rock together, and we all have to get along. And sooner or later, I think we get to a point where we're like, what can we do to make this thing amazing? Because every movie we work on moving forward is important to us. I don't care what size it is. It's all important, And I'm just, I want directors and people to know that I'm approachable. You can come to me. I will discuss your project. My only non-negotiable term is that my work, I don't care what the budget is, my work must look amazing. I don't care what happens. That's my goal, my purpose, because it doesn't matter what the budget is or what's going on. I have to make sure that the work I do in the film looks amazing. And that's my only goal, really and truly, and to be of service to the production. But yeah,
need to get them for the Brute. That's a bloody one. That's going to be a bloody one.
The Brute, huh?
Yeah, you might have to send him the script and have Joe take a little peek at it to figure out what good effects we could get.
It is straight up slasher, but with
that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's been an honor having you on, Joe. I've been excited to have you on, seeing your work and what you've done. We just touched the tip of the iceberg showing your page, and that's Joe Castro FX. Check him out. I don't know what's the best link for you, if it's Instagram or Facebook. If you have a fan page, check out this man's work, support him. You guys got a project and you need somebody who's going to bring some awesome. This is a man to reach out to. Glad the strike's over.
I'm an easy find. Joe Castro. It was Joe.Castro on Facebook and Joe_Castro_director on Instagram. And I'm an easy find. So reach out to me, and I'm always online. So yeah.
Again, big fan, total honor. Love your work. Can't wait to see what you do next, and check out some of the older films I haven't had a chance to see, and some of these new projects you got coming out. What do you got going on, Big Schwag?
Boy, howdy. I don't know. I'm just, I'm always, look at it. I'm always in awe of guys like Joe, and I've gotten to work with some really good FX guys in the past, and I've been just very blessed too. And Joe's one of those good guys. So if you do have a project, like you said, he's very approachable. Give him a shout out, send him a message, say, hey, He'll work with you. He'll work within your budget as long as you let him make good stuff. I will be in Texas next week. I'm going to be in Manor, Texas, doing a little. We're going to be watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 different times. Group of 50. Going to watch the movie, have some barbecue, and then we're going to do some photo ops with me in full costume. Then on November 19th, I'm going to be in Bastrop at the gas station. Roy Rose, that does the Cult Classic, has the gas station. December, going to be in Terror Traders up there in Arizona. They're going to be doing a 2-day deal, and then going to be with Felissa Rose in December in New Jersey, and then hopefully in somewhere in December, Joe reaches out to the Big Schwag, says, "Big man, come down here. I want to get you killed in this movie."
Yeah,
and we'll go from there. But otherwise, Joe, I'll give you a holler. Maybe we can take you and your better half. We go grab some dinner or something and shoot the shiznit out there by your way.
Absolutely. I think we need Brett in a brand new slasher character killer concept. I think we need to invent something all new for Brett. Something entirely just him. Something entirely new and fresh.
He's been looking lean too. I'm telling you, the big
I
man's
know,
looking lean and mean lately.
He can do
The
it.
diabetic killer.
Yeah,
I'm ready. Not only does it kill you, but I can kill you as well. All right. Hey, Joe, thanks so much again. Appreciate you spending an hour with us. We're blessed to have you. Much luck in the future. Anything really good coming on you want to plug, just give us a holler. We'll bring you back on and we'll talk about it.
Thank you so much. Yep. And like I said, anybody wants to see Terror Tunes, go to terrortunes.tv.
I got to see it.
All right. I'm going to send y'all links.
All right. Appreciate it, Joe.
Yep.
Thanks again. Thank you guys, everybody in the chat. You guys mean the world to us. We love your support. We appreciate your support. Not sure what we got up next, but we'll figure it out. We'll give you a shout out on Doomsday's Crypt. And until next time, peace out.